Ladies and gentlemen,
and his grandparents.
I'm glad everybody's made it this evening. We have a wonderful turnout, and for those that don't know me, my name is Sherry Ross. I'm the chairman here, chairperson, however you want to say it. We have some great speakers tonight. We're going to go ahead and get started because I know a few folks usually have to get home to kids and other things. So first on the list is Darwin Carter. He's running. And you can see the sign for Agriculture Commissioner. We appreciate him being here tonight. I was trying to read his thing a little bit and get a little familiar with him, but we are so glad that we have people that care enough about our communities and our agricultural efforts going on here in Georgia that have stepped up to the plate and put themselves on the line and say, you know, this is what our state needs. So Darwin, please welcome. Everybody give him a round of applause.
Thank you, Sherry. It's a pleasure to be here with you tonight. I feel like I've come home. I love looking at that 8th District Georgia banner. In 1980, I got off my tractor and out of my fertilizer truck, put on a tie, and began campaigning for the U.S. House of Representatives. Some of you may still remember who your chairman was at that time. Vera Martin. She was the chairman of the 8th District here in Macon. Very dear friend and dear lady. I had the good fortune to be the nominee of the party. So we had 31 counties at that time. It began at the Clark County line, ran in a pie shape down to the Florida line, inside 75, inside 95. Geographically, it was the largest congressional district east of the Mississippi River. I had to run in 5 media markets, TV media markets, just to get coverage of it. That's how the Democrats had gerrymandered it around, so it would make it almost impossible for any real serious challenge to be mounted against those people. I had to run a Florida TV station, a South Carolina TV station, Atlanta TV stations, Columbus, Macon. You had to run it all over the state, so it was extremely expensive to try to mount a challenge. I was running with President Reagan, and we were up against a pretty good challenge. Mac Mattingly, with his support and his help and our support running with Reagan, we beat Herman Talmadge and we beat Jimmy Carter. So we did get rid of 2 of them. I was fortunate enough to get 35% of the vote in a district in which a Republican had never run before. Now, once that election was over, my phone rang back at my fertilizer plant in South Georgia one day. The secretary came back and said, "You need to take this call, Darwin." And I said, "Well, I'm busy mixing fertilizer." She said, "You stop. This call is important." I pick up the phone and said, "Operator at the White House." And she said, "Is this Darwin Carter?" I said, "Yes, it is." She said, "Would you please hold for the president?" So Ronald Reagan came on the line and he said, "Darwin, you ran a great race. You did a wonderful job for our party. I need your help now. When the President of the United States asks you for your assistance, ladies and gentlemen, there's only 2 words going to come out of your mouth, and that is, yes, sir." So for the next 8 years, I served Ronald Reagan. I was one of the foot soldiers. You didn't hear about me. You know, the Bakers, Meese, Devers, they were the people who, you know, were making the policy and then getting the headlines. And then there were the grunts. There were 2,900 of us. We did the grunt work. We didn't make the headlines, but we implemented the policies of Ronald Reagan. Now, when I went to Whatcom County, Washington, or I went to Pennsylvania or Nevada, Montana to make a speech, I never had to have my speech cleared. I never submitted it to the White House for critique. I knew what he wanted me to say. I knew what he wanted me to do. He could go into the Oval Office, lean back in his chair, put his feet up on the desk. He had 2,900 people he had recruited, and he knew we were his eyes, ears, and we were going to put out the policy and do the things he wanted done. And ladies and gentlemen, that's how this country got straightened out. Because he was a personnel selector, if you will. He knew how to select people. We weren't the brightest, we weren't the prettiest, but we did know what we were talking about. Okay, fast forward. I'm running for Commissioner of Agriculture for the state of Georgia. We've got terrible, terrible problems throughout this country. And we've got terrible problems in this state. But the strength of this state is that we are an agricultural state. 18% of GDP in this state is accounted for by agriculture. $57 billion. Now, should we be able to move that 5 percentage points, 4 percentage points, we would literally wipe out the unemployment in this state. You would create jobs on farms, in transportation, in rails, in shipping, longshoremen. Because under Darwin Carter's purview, I want to see us crank these farms up. I want to see the farmers get out of the coffee shops at 10:30 in the morning, get the tractors out from under the shelters, quit enrolling their farms in some conservation plan, which is both wonderful and benevolent, but they need to be put back into production. And their wives won't be going to Harvey's, Publix, and Winn-Dixie's buying Chinese-made goods. There's something very wrong with this picture, ladies and gentlemen. You can go to the farmer's market and get yourself a used baby carriage, some used tubes, CD players, but try to find some Georgia-made products there. Pardon my French, they ain't there. Now, I listened to Secretary Vilsack the other night. I don't sleep very well at night, so I woke up about 3 o'clock in the morning, turned on TV, and C-SPAN was on. They actually covered something in Washington. So anyway, having been in those Star Chamber hearings so many times, where you've got the witness out there and 16 senators sitting up here about 3 feet above you looking down on you, with 50 TV cameras trained on you, you begin to pick up the little nuances from those Star Chamber hearings if you have been there before. So Vilsack was down here, and the chairman of the Senate Ag Committee was up here, and it was like a 3-act play. They were reading off the script. Vilsack would start answering a question before this guy got through reading it. And here's what they were saying. They were talking about the millions of acres of land that they're going to retire from production under a program called the CRP. That's the acronym for Conservation Reserve Program. The program was designed to retire fragile and highly erodible soils from production. How do I know that? I wrote the bill. What they're talking about doing now is retiring a major portion of the productive land of America under this program, so it won't be used. You put it in a 20-year program and pay the farmer $42.50 an acre per year and just let it sit there. But we could be producing on that land. The second thing I heard Vilsack say was that we were spending millions of dollars to teach the Afghans, the Iraqis, and the sub-Saharan Africans how to grow their own food. A wonderful and benevolent enterprise. However, that's market share the American farmer should be having. And is this not the United States Department of Agriculture? The third thing I heard him say was this. We're going to spend X number of millions of dollars to hire more port inspectors to check the products coming in. They were not there to check the products going out. They're there to look at the Chinese, Guatemalan, Belize, Ecuadorian food that's coming in. We got a real problem here, ladies and gentlemen. We're not working. We're not producing. We hear more and more and more people talk about an imbalance of trade. Yeah, I agree with that. But if you're going to have a balance, you're going to balance a trade, you've got to have something to trade. And we don't. Our people have got to go back to work. Now,